Hey everybody, Hunter Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and just a country cook, Steve Hall, here in Nashville, Tennessee, along with pretty Miss Sheila running that camera. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Beautiful day out today, isn't it?
It is.
We're going to get started on a recipe here. We got some top round beef, all cubed up. We got some Belgian imported beer. We got some onions. We got some other secret ingredients. And what are we making? We're making beef carbonade. Now, I'm not a real fancy chef, as you know, because I have trouble pronouncing half of this stuff, but it's beef, it's carbonade a la Flemish or something like that. Basically what it is Belgian beef stew. I got about a half a pound of bacon in here. It's already browned up, a little bit of bacon grease. Let's get started on making a very unique and very delicious Belgian beef stew, or carbonade a la Flemish. Come on over here, let's get started. Well, I fished out most of the bacon, left the bacon grease down in here from a half a pound of bacon that I browned up. Now our beef we're going to use today is top round, cubed up. I know because I cut it up. All they had was beef stew meat in the store. Don't buy that because it's just got all kinds of tendons in it. In fact, I cut some of the tendons out of this to make sure it was nice and lean and good sized chunks, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches we're going to do. Now most people that if you go online and watch their beef carbonade recipes, they just chuck the meat in and start browning it. I don't like to do that. So what I got over here is I got about 1.5 cups of flour, and I got the magic 4 in there. A half a teaspoon of these 4 things: salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder. Not garlic salt, but garlic powder. And I also got about a teaspoon of paprika in there. I like the flavor and the color of paprika. And what we're going to do here is mix that in. I wanted you to see it before I stirred it up. Can you see that, Sheila?
Yeah.
All right, great. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take our pieces of top round, tumble them in our flour, and we're going to brown them up real good in our Dutch oven here. All right. It's already starting to sear up nice. And we're going to brown this up real nice, and then we're going to take it out of there and start putting some of our other goodies in. I'll show you that in just a little bit. And I got about 2 pounds of top round. Actually, I bought 2 1-pound top round steaks. And they were nice and thick, and I cut them up. They were only like $5.99 a pound, so it's a pretty good price on the meat. And I think this is good. Let me brown this bunch up here, and then I'll put the rest in later. See you in a little bit. You know, I've been waiting to do this recipe for a long time. Look how nice that browns up if you just hit it with a little dusting of seasoned flour instead of just throwing the bare meat in the bowl. Or I don't know, in the pot it just doesn't look right to me. Plus it leaves a little flour residue down there in the bottom. We're going to use that to our advantage in a little bit. Let me get the next batch in here. Get our meat all browned up. I've got some real surprises for you here in this recipe that you're just going to love. Now you can add a little oil if you need to, if it gets kind of soaked up with the rest of that. In fact, I got a little bit of bacon grease left in this bowl. Remember that bacon grease I poured in that bowl, Sheila?
Yeah.
Do you have that real handy? All right. Instead of just dumping cooking oil in there, I just really like flavor, you know. Let me get these other pieces in there and see if there's any more hiding in the flour. Oh yeah, one more little rascal. There he is. All right. And now I'm going to take a little bit of this bacon grease and pour it back in there to give me some cooking oil without using just regular canola oil. But you can use anything. You don't even have to use bacon grease if you don't want to. But boy, you talk about flavor. Now let me get this batch browned up, and then we'll move on from there. And here is the rest of our beef browned up the way you should do it, with a touch of flour on there. Now, I'm going to reach over here and get a little pat of butter. Almost a quarter stick, flop in there. All right, I scraped all the little crumblies off the bottom of the Dutch oven to get them incorporated in our bacon grease and butter. And I got 3 real nice sweet Vidalia onions. And what I did is I cut them in half and then I chopped them so they would be kind of like longer curls, not diced, because they're going to look good in there. We want to soften our onions. Oh, you think you're hiding over there, but you're going to get in there. We're going to soften up these onions, and at this time, we can also hit this with a half a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of black pepper. You know me and pepper. I like that pepper in there. Kind of mix that around, start to soften that up a little bit. We're also going to add about a tablespoon of minced garlic. Now you can use fresh, chop it up if you want, but you know me when it comes to pouring stuff out of a jar. Oh, that smells good. Oh, wow. What a good start to this dish. Now at this point, we're going to pour a little beer in here, and let me tell you what I did. I almost tried to sneak it by you and just use some Michelob, you know, what is it, dark lager or whatever beer, but instead, I actually went over here to Old Hickory Wine and Spirits, talked to Neil, the owner, and he sold me a bottle of imported, yep, that's right, Belgian Ale. And that's what they use over there in Belgium when they make their stew. In fact, when I say they, I'm talking about a little lady that owns a restaurant, and she uses a very unique ingredient, which is coming up soon. But I'm only going to, even though this is kind of a little bit bigger bottle, I'm only going to use like 1 bottle worth. Let me see if I can, ooh, look at the fancy little cork and top. See if I can shoot this across the room here. Just about. All right. I'm going to dump in about a half a cup to start with, just to kind of deglaze the bottom of the cooker. Oh, man. You got to smell this. You know, I'm telling you. And a lot of recipes just call this, they don't go into the Carbonnade a la Flemish and all that kind of stuff. They just call it Belgian Beef Stew. And some of them call it Belgian Beef and Beer Stew, because the beer is the main ingredient in this Belgian beef and beer stew. Boy, that just looks so good. Let me give these onions just about another couple of minutes, and then we'll continue. All right, we got our onions nice and soft. Now we're going to put our beef back in here, our top round. Don't forget the juice in the bottom of the bowl. Thank you, Sheila. Let's add a little seasoning to this here. We're going to put in a half a teaspoon of thyme. Now you can use the whole sprout and all that stuff, but I just take it out of my little dispenser over there. We're going to put in a full teaspoon of parsley. Now I'll put all the ingredients in the description box below, so you don't have to worry about writing it down or pausing the video or doing all that stuff. And then this is tarragon. Just a few little tarragon leaves in here. Boy, that tarragon smells so good. I don't do a lot of cooking with it, but I love it in this recipe. And once we get this stirred in here just a little bit, and I'm going to add just a couple of bay leaves. Just a little more beer. Anytime you need a little liquid to help keep that bottom of the cooker from getting too dry, dump some more of your Belgian beer in there. Now you can use any beer you want, but I just wanted to be traditional with this because that's what that lady does at that restaurant in Belgium. She makes it the way her mom does. I could have put a couple of bay leaves in here. And now I'm going to show you something that this lady does in her recipe that you won't find anywhere on the internet, but I wanted to do it to stay traditional with this lady from Belgium. In here, some people on the internet put like a couple of slices of whole grain bread, and they also put sugar in here. Well, she kind of combines the bread and sugar flavors together in something that's very unique. Gingerbread. Now, if you want somebody to look at you like you got a third eye in the middle of your forehead, just go into the grocery store and ask them where the gingerbread is. They have no idea. So I had to go down to the bakery section and find gingerbread cake and cookie mix. Now, there's two different kinds of ingredients you put on the back. One you do for the cookies, one you do for the cake. I did the cake mixture. I poured it. Instead of a 9x9 pan, I put it in a regular bread loaf. And I'm going to show you what she does. Let's see if I can get this out of here. I haven't even taken it out of the, there we go. I haven't even taken it out, but she slices it up. Let me move this over here. Let me give you that, Sheila. Thanks. Let me see if I can't get a knife. And what she does, I actually baked this a little longer than what the recipe says. By the way, I should have checked. Am I in frame there, Sheila?
You're in frame.
All right. Now I'm slicing this just about as thick as a slice of bread. And she lays this gingerbread on top of her Belgian beef stew because that's the way her mom did it. And I mean covers the entire pot of beef with gingerbread. You won't find this recipe anywhere else except for that lady over there in Belgium. Let's see if I can find another spot. Obviously, I didn't cut this before we got on camera, but I don't care. I'm going to make it work. Whatever pieces I can get. I kind of turned the cake into a bread. Let me put one more little piece.
This is what you call homemade.
Isn't this homemade? Mm-hmm. And there we have it. And you want to talk about the sweetness of the sugar that some people put in and the bread texture of the gravy that's going to produce. I'm actually going to sprinkle a little bit of it. Some of these pieces that have fell off. I'm going to fill in some of the little slots around there. All right. Now, we're going to pour the rest of our beer in here. Now, that's about as much as a regular bottle of beer. So that's all we're going to put in there. And we're going to top it off with some beef stock to bring it up right to where it's starting to bring the bread underneath the liquid. Boy, that just looks so fantastic. Right there. I'm going to mash this down just a little bit just to kind of submerge that stuff in there. And then we're going to cook this for about 2 hours just on a real low simmer. And then we're going to add some mushrooms. We're going to add some carrots. And whoops, believe it or not, one of my ingredients is on the other side of this pot and I didn't see it. Dijon mustard. You want to put in about a half a cup of Dijon mustard in here. And I also forgot one other ingredient. I'm going to go in the kitchen right now and get me a little bit of apple cider vinegar, just about a tablespoon, and put it in there. Be right back. Thank you very much, Sheila.
You're welcome.
I'm just going to eyeball this, but I'm going to put about a tablespoon, maybe just a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in there, and then I'm going to try to kind of stir this mustard into the recipe. I think I've got everything in there. Golly, you should smell this with the mustard and the gingerbread and the beef and all the ingredients. Like I said, I'm going to cook this for about 2 hours to make that beef just fall apart tender. Then we're going to add our carrots and we're going to add our mushrooms so they don't just cook to death. So, let me turn this down to about medium, or actually medium low. I'm going to put the lid on it and we're going to simmer this for about 2 hours and we'll see you then. Well, I got the lid on here. Duh. Can't believe it. I started to walk away and I thought, what about the bacon? I'll bet there's people at home saying, what about that bacon? You going to put that bacon back in there? And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Gee whiz, I'm telling you what, I'm missing so much stuff. That's why it's good to put all the instructions in the description box below so I don't forget it. Not for you, but for me, and the next time I want to make it, I actually go look up my own recipes. There we go. Now we got that bacon back in there with the mustard and the gingerbread and the seasoning. all our spices. Now we're going to put the lid on it. It's still simmering and bubbling away just perfect. I got it down on low medium. Man, I can't wait. See you in 2 hours. Now everything's in there. Duh. All right, our Belgian beef stew has been simmering away for about an hour. I have not taken the lid off because I wanted you to see what it looks like. In fact, I didn't even stir it, so it still probably has that layer of gingerbread on top. Let's take a look. Well, all right, let's take a peek here. Wow, that absolutely smells so amazing with that mustard and beer and that sweet gingerbread in there. Let's give it a stir. I wanted to wait till you guys were here before I stirred these onions and this beef. Let me get a hold of my pot here. Wow. That has turned into a fabulous dish. My goodness gracious. You have no idea. Wowee. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our little baby carrots in there. I just got a few that I got in a little bag at the store the other day. Not very many, just enough to kind of give it a little color when we dish it up. That's plenty. Now you can take full-size carrots and chunk them up and put them in there, but I just want them little baby carrots in there. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. Because this is looking so good, check that meat. It still seems a little bit firm, so we're going to simmer this for about another hour, for hour number 2, and then we're going to put in our mushrooms. So let's get the lid back on here. We'll see in just a little bit. There is one other thing I want to show you here. This is called a precision induction cooktop, and if you put it on medium-low, you'll notice the temperature is 175, which is not quite boiling because water boils at 212. If you put it on medium, it jumps clear to 275, which is too much. I don't want it to cook that much, but it does have a little minus and plus, so I can take it right to 220, which is perfect. That's almost like low and slow in the oven. And by the way, you can put this Dutch oven on your stovetop, cook up the recipe, and put it in your oven at like 225 or 235. Leave it in there for the same 2 or 3 hours. You don't have to have one of these. You can just put this in your oven and cook it. But I wanted to show you that because it's really neat, because you can specifically put it just over boiling, so it's just simmering perfect. See you in an hour. All right, it's been another hour. Oh, man. Look at this. Now, I waited to this point to put the mushrooms in because I have cooked a few stews, put the mushrooms in the beginning, and by the time it's done, 3 or 4 hours later, they're just black, the mushrooms. It just kind of cooks them to death. So I've waited till about the last whole 30 minutes of this cooking process to put in our mushrooms. That's just looking so nice. All right, we'll give this about another 30 minutes just to cook these mushrooms up good. And then we're going to plate this up. I wish you could smell this. This is so magnificent. I love that. I'm telling you, this stuff smells and tastes so fantastic. I got so excited about it, I forgot to turn my microphone on, as you see, as I was dishing it up, but I'm going to leave it in there anyway because I'm telling you what, I have never smelled or tasted something so sweet and so delicious and so wonderful in all the recipes I've done. That gingerbread in there and that Belgian beer and the way we simmered it, oh, that beef is so tender. I don't know what else to tell you. It is absolutely spectacular. Me and Sheila even took the spoon and licked it a little earlier when we were stirring it. Mushrooms turned out just perfect in the last 30 minutes. It is outstanding. I'm telling you, you have to try this recipe. It is so delicious with that gingerbread. Get a box of that cake and cookie mix, make your own little loaf, slice it up. Now, if you don't like so much gravy, use a little less gingerbread or slice it thinner. But I just love that in there. On a bed of rice with some little potatoes, it's fantastic. Now, you guys are lucky Because when we have to cook something for 2 or 3 hours, we got to shut all the cameras off, turn the microphone off, go in the other room, and sit there and watch the clock while another hour of simmering goes by, then come back in. And part of the time I go in, have some coffee, we come back, Sheila does her part, she turns the camera on, but I forget to turn my microphone back on. So, but I got it on now, I can tell that by looking at the little blinking box over there. But I'll tell you, this is undoubtedly one of the most delicious. Follow this recipe exactly. Get yourself some real traditional imported Belgian ale to try this with. You're just going to love the recipe. In fact, I hope you enjoyed watching us make it because we really enjoyed making it for you. Well, we really hope you subscribe to our channel. That's pretty easy. Little Shotgun Red's face is going to pop up over here in a little bit. When it does, click on it, and next to the word subscribe with the check mark after you subscribe is a little bell. We hope you click on that and put them little lines next to the little bell. That means you want to be notified every time we come out with a new recipe. You're going to love this one. We'll put another recipe over here that we hope you enjoy as well. But is this the best Belgian beef and beer stew you ever ate? Or, let me see if I can get this right, Carbonnade a la Flemish or something, whatever the fancy chefs call it. If it ain't, it ought to be. It is absolutely fantastic. The flavor and the smells of this are just terrific. I don't know how to explain it to you how excited I am about this recipe because it's so, so good. I hope you enjoyed our recipe. We'll see you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. Say goodnight, Sheila.
Good night, Sheila.
Excellent job as usual. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.